How many of you have ever seen the TV show Intervention on A&E? Yeah? I know. It's an amazing show. And such a real-world glimpse of what people go through in our communities to become well. And so Ken Seeley has been featured on the Emmy Award-winning A&E show, Intervention, and he's the founder of Intervention 911, which is one of the most prominent and successful private treatment or intervention services in the country. And he is also a noted author. He has written the book called Face It and Fix It, and I hope he talks maybe a little bit about that as well. And he still has a very large and successful treatment center and is still doing interventions, because this is his passion in life. And I think what we wanted to bring him here today to hear, because we know so many folks, and I know my life and my family has been touched by substance use issues over the years in various forms. And this is something I think that touches every family and is an important message for all of us to hear. So with that, please join me in welcoming Ken Seeley to the stage, and I look forward to hearing from him. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, love.
Thank you.
And let's thank Diana, for putting this on. Great job. So, and I want to thank all of you for being here, because it's so important, working as a community and working together, because doing it on our own, we can't do it. We need each other. We need each other. So thank you all for being here. I want to tell you a little bit about, and I think we need to give those kids another hand of applause, right? Holy cow. They were amazing. I got the tail end of it, and I was like, at that age, getting up here and doing that? Oh my God. I could have never have done that. So thank you. Never have done that. I mean, I was afraid of my own shadow at that age. So to get in front of all of you, I would have been petrified in fear. I would have called in sick today. So you were going to call in sick? Okay. I know that pain, but thank you for showing up, because you are the future. So I want to talk about, mental illness and addiction and, why people end up where they do, in my opinion. And I'll tell it from a story of where I come from, my personal story. When I was 4 years old, I had a really healthy household. My dad was a fireman. My mom stayed at home, took care of me and my sister. We had a great upbringing. But the minute I walked outside my door, I was petrified of being bullied. I was this little boy that was very effeminate and always beat up every single day. And from 4 years old to 14 years old, I was scared of the world. I was so petrified of every single human being, except when I got back into my closed doors with my family and my relatives. But everyone else I was scared to death of, because I was afraid that I was the one that wasn't going to get picked. When you're in school, you're in the sports team and you're all lined up and they pick you and, I'll pick you. And I was always the last one. They were like, oh God, I guess I'll take him. It was like, oh, thanks. So having that and growing up with that for so many years, from 4 to 14, that 10 years, while my brain is being developed, what ends up happening is that trauma ends up creating a form of mental illness. It turns on a tape in my head that you're a piece of crap. You're no good. Nobody likes you. You're not worth, you shouldn't even be alive. You should be dead. That's the tape that played in my head for 10 years. Why were you even born? Why are you on this earth? You don't deserve to be on this earth. Everybody else deserves to be on this earth, but you do not deserve to be on this earth. That's the tape that played over and over and over in my head. and praying, please don't let me wake up, God. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to live in this world anymore. It's too painful. And it's because of being bullied for all those years. And then when I was 14 years old, I found one friend, and I'd find friends and then they would disappear, and then I'd find a couple more friends and they would disappear. But I found this one friend, and he goes, I would like to, let's get some alcohol and we'll go get drunk. And I was like, absolutely, I'll do whatever you say. You're my only friend, hello. Whatever you want, I'll do what you say. So I was like scared to death. I don't want to do alcohol. And I was like, well, I wanted a friend. So I was like, and that's the codependency, what we call it, or, peer pressure that kids go through. So I just wanted to feel accepted. That's all I wanted. So I had the drink, and I ended up getting drunk. When I got drunk, I finally felt like it didn't matter. It turned off that voice in my head that was constant every day. You're not worth anything, And then all of a sudden, there's a group of people over there. I wasn't afraid to go talk to them because I had alcohol in me. So that alcohol became my survival skill. That was something that made me feel connected to all of you. I was like, wow, this really works well. So now I go and I'm using that as I get older, from 15, 16, 17. In junior high, I'm doing marijuana. Then I went to Black Beauties, acid, mescaline, because all I'm trying to do is numb the pain of that voice that's yelling in my head constantly, yelling in my head. And so as I'm going through that and I'm trying all these drugs, and then people are like, I went in the Air Force at 18 years old because my mother didn't want me to get high. My mother's like, that's not really good. You shouldn't be drinking. You're underage. And I was like, yeah, I just need to get away from you, because if I get away from you, I'll be okay. So I sign up for the military. And I go into the military and I get kicked out because of drugs. And so I get kicked out of the military, and I'm living over in Italy at 18 years old, 19 years old. Get kicked out of the military, and then I go back home. And again, remember that tape? You're a piece of crap. You're no good. You're not worthy. Still playing in my head. The only thing that numbed it was drugs and alcohol. So I'm self-medicating. So when I do interventions and I work with families, I realize that the reason that they're doing drugs and alcohol, they're numbing some form of pain. That's it. They're numbing some form of pain, some form of trauma that happened to them. I did an episode on the show, and I was telling her earlier, that, this one, I was kind of like, when I do an intervention, I don't want to lose eye contact. I want them in the room with me, because I'm afraid if I lose eye contact with them, or somebody in the family loses, I'm afraid when we put boundaries into place that they're going to go and say, you know what? Because they have that same tape playing in their head. And that tape's going to say, my family doesn't love me. They're trying to make me go to treatment. They're taking away, it's almost like when you're an addict and alcoholic, your drugs and your alcohol is your oxygen. So now I'm doing an intervention on them, and I'm taking away their oxygen. I'm taking away their only survival skill that makes them feel comfortable in their skin. So I take that away from them, and then the addict, the voice starts playing, you know what? My family doesn't love me. They brought this idiot in that's trying to manipulate them and take me out of this, getting me into treatment. My family doesn't love me. I'm just going to go kill myself. And that's my greatest fear, is that we're going to lose them because that tape gets louder in their head. That tape gets so loud that they only see an exit out is to committing suicide. And so, I have to be very delicate on how far I push when I do an intervention, because that's not the goal. The goal is to get them off drugs and alcohol, get them into treatment, and deal with the trauma so they could start understanding that they have a problem, that there's treatment available to them. There's hope out there. There's help out there for them. So when I do these interventions, I get nervous about that fact, because that's the worst nightmare. Imagine somebody going out and hurt himself. So it hasn't happened. I've seen it happen when people go to treatment and then they commit suicide in treatment. And again, how many of you know somebody that has an alcoholic or drug problem? Yeah, I mean, it's almost the whole room. I mean, almost everyone in here knows somebody. So when you look at it that way, and over 70,000 people died last year alone in this country, that's like a plane going down every single day in this country. Every day. And it's because their voices are so loud. Their voices are so loud that they don't think there's any help out there for them. And that's why this organization and all of you coming together, we need to support each other. They need the support of the community. You know, a lot of people, have you ever heard of the NIMBY law that's out there, not in my backyard? Anybody hear that one? You know, we don't want to, we want to treat people, but we don't want those in our backyard. We don't want those addicts around us. They're bad people. And when you look at it, they do bad things because they're numbing that pain. They're numbing that pain. So going back, when I did this intervention on this young woman, I mean, I was exhausted. I ran. I don't know if any of you have seen this episode, but I ran to the different, I'd get to a terminal to get on the plane, and she would be like, I'm not getting on the plane. And I'd be like, oh my God, okay. And I'd be like, what do you want to do? I'm not going to treatment. Okay, the plane takes off. We go back, I talk her back into going to treatment. We go get another plane ticket and go get our bags and go through that thing. I think we did it like 5 times. And so we go through that process 5 times, and it's like 8 hours later, I am exhausted. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, you know what? Go do your drugs. I can't take it. You're killing me. and a lot of you are laughing, so you must know those addicts. They exhaust you. They're out there trying to push us, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was hit to the wall. But then it reminded me that when I worked with that family and I did their genogram and I looked through the family system, that little girl was raped from the age of 5 years old. 5 years old. And so that little girl from 5 to 15 has been abused physically, mentally. And so how do I expect her to act? Do I expect her to say, oh yeah, take away my only coping mechanism and, go ahead and take away my drugs that makes me feel comfortable in my own skin and I'll be fine. That's never going to happen. That's the biggest fear in her life. So having that empathy for that person, addicts and alcoholics do really, really bad things. They do really bad things. They're not bad people, they're sick people trying to feed their addiction, so they turn off that voice. That's all they're asking for. Turn off that voice, please. And so once you get into treatment, hopefully, God willing, and July 14th, I'll have 30 years of recovery where I checked into treatment. Thank you. And, I checked into treatment because I got fired from my job. I didn't go to treatment because I wanted to get sober. I didn't go to treatment because, I thought, oh, this is going to be fun, going away and going to treatment. And, but what I did learn when I was in treatment is that I had a disease that was killing me, that I was going to die if I didn't learn how to get off that crystal meth and the alcohol. Because that was my drug of choice at the end, is crystal meth and alcohol. So I had to learn how to live without it. And so what ends up happening for addicts and alcoholics, I think it's really interesting, is anybody ever been to treatment and then they find their detox love? You call it detox love. They meet somebody in treatment and they find their soulmate, is what they call it. They're like, oh no, you're not going to treatment to get married. You're going to treatment to get off drugs and learn how to love yourself, not to find a soulmate. And so that happens all the time. Because again, remember the voice, you're a piece of crap, you're no good, nobody loves you, and then you can't do drugs, so what's the next thing that feels good? Sex and love. So it's easy, it's accessible, it's right there, so they jump into that addiction. And so then they go into that addiction and think they met somebody that's, the perfect match. So fast forward into, years of my recovery. I was 10 years sober, and I was going to meetings all the time. I was sponsoring people in the program. I was, really active in the program. They called me AA squared. They were like, you go to too many meetings. There's something wrong with you. It was like, but I just loved it. And what I loved about it is what you guys are all doing here. I finally had a sense of community. That little 4-year-old to 14-year-old never had a sense of community. The only time I had a sense of community was when I was selling drugs and you needed me. Okay? Then I was like, okay, you need me? Here you go, I have drugs. But that was a false sense of community. That wasn't real. But in AA, they gave me a sense of community that was real. And I was like a duck in water. I loved it. I went to meetings all the time. I was sponsoring people. I had a sponsor. I was, working the steps. And so as I'm doing that, I went into love addiction and money addiction. And my friend, have any of you ever felt like, oh my God, if I only had $1 million in the bank, I wouldn't have to worry about getting up today to go to work. So I don't like going to work that much. and I wouldn't have to go to work today, and I'd be able to, just take a deep breath and know that my bills are going to be paid for next month. Anybody feel that? Hello? Okay. Some of you, well, welcome. I felt that for years. And so I was always like a hamster. Run. Work. And go, because you have to have money in the bank. And then I would make a certain amount of money, and at the end of the month, it would be gone. And I'd be like, what the heck is going on here? I thought I was working to save money so I could have that $1 million in the bank so I could feel secure. Never happened. So I was running, and that's what work addiction and money addiction and all of that is. Because again, if something on the outside is gonna make me feel complete inside, then I'll finally be okay. Because that little boy, again, never feels okay, no matter what. Drugs and alcohol didn't work anymore. Now I'm looking for something else to make me feel okay in here. So that was the money in the bank. I never got the money in the bank. So 10 years of work, getting nowhere. And then I was like, this one I think a lot of people can relate to. So I was single, and I was in full-blown love addiction and sex addiction. So I said, if I only had the perfect relationship, everything would be okay. Anybody ever feel that one? Come on, there's got to be more hands. Come on, let's get serious. So if I only had that perfect relationship, I would be okay. That other person would fix me to make me feel okay. And that was my drive. I didn't realize it at the time, but that's all I wanted, is I wanted somebody to make me feel better. I needed some money to make me feel better, but none of them were happening. None of them were happening. And I was like, well, what's wrong with me? Why did my sister get married right after high school? My mother got married, when she, at 22, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get a relationship? There's something wrong with me. And so I kept running on that. And then I went into, well, you're such a piece of crap. Something's wrong with you. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're not like the rest of the people in the world. There's something definitely wrong with you. And so then I said, you know what? I know what to do. I don't want to drink or use drugs, because if I drink and use drugs, then that's a slow, miserable death. You have 10 years sober. You don't want to be homeless in the streets. You don't want to die slowly. That's all drugs and alcohol are going to do. It's going to numb the pain, but it's going to be a slow death. So the better idea would be is let's go and buy a gun on the internet and kill yourself, because that's a quick death. with 10 years sober. That was my solution. 10 years. I'm clean and sober, off drugs and alcohol. But again, the voice is so loud. You're no good. You're a piece of crap. So that voice that keeps playing, and I'm like, but I didn't understand it. I didn't understand that I was in a full-blown money addiction and love addiction. I'm searching. There's shopping addiction, gambling addiction. There's love, sex. What other addictions are out there? All kinds of addictions. I mean, I got pretty much all of them except gambling, thank God. That's the only one I don't have so far. Because again, anything to feel better inside. And so the reality is that I bought that gun to end the pain because the voice was too loud. I couldn't live anymore. But I did what the program taught, and I said, some people need outside help. And I found a therapist that helped me. And the therapist helped me understand that I had process addictions and that I needed to deal with those process addictions and learn how to like myself. Because I didn't even like myself. Who likes themselves? I mean, these kids that did an amazing job up there, you gotta like yourself a little to be able to get up here. But that kid, when I was their age, I was scared of my own shadow. I never liked myself as an adult. And then you gotta learn how to like yourself, and then you gotta learn how to love yourself. And that's, I think, is the key component is once you get into your passion of life, of what you're born to be on this earth to do, that's the only reason why I'm able to stand up here. Because I don't feel like I work today. I don't feel like it's an effort anymore because I finally found a passion. And my passion, and I hope all of you have your passion, and being here and working as a community. And I love seeing all the tables out there because each one of you have your passion, but together we work as a team and we help more people. Because I was doing interventions way before the TV show, and I would always sit there and I would say, there's 25 million Americans out there right now suffering from an addiction. 25 million. And I'm only helping one family member right now, one family system. So how do I help more people? If we could get this on TV, more people would be able to get help because they would see that their loved ones don't have to suffer anymore. So my passion became helping other people to get out of the pain that I remember I lived in. And once I got involved with my passion and got into treatment and got into therapy and realized my other addictions and learned how to start liking myself and then learning how to start loving myself because my passion was starting to help the world. And I love that more than anything in the world. That's the goal, is to everyone get to the point. I don't care if you're serving Starbucks coffee, getting into your passion of helping another human being have a better day. When you bring that energy into it, you start building up your own self-esteem and start loving yourself. So you think that you're doing it to help someone else, but then you're starting to take those baby steps to start liking and then loving yourself. And that's the key. I think that's the most important part. So I want to do a quick exercise that I don't know if any of you, who wants to be a volunteer and come up and help me? Anybody? Come on. Want to help me? Thank you. So, and then I'm going to have you guys do this exercise because I want to see how many of you really like yourself. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Don't leave the room. Lock the doors. No. Don't let them out. So what's your name?
Karen.
Karen.
Yes.
That's my sister's name. Easy to remember.
Oh.
Nice to meet you, Karen.
Nice to meet you.
So what I want you to do is say, Ken, who are you?
Ken, who are you?
And then just keep repeating that when I answer it.
Okay.
Okay?
Ken, who are you?
I failed 3rd grade.
Ken, who are you?
Low self-esteem.
Ken, who are you?
Someone that loves to swim in the beach in Hawaii.
Ken, who are you?
I have ADHD.
Ken, who are you?
I am afraid of people.
Ken, who are you?
I have a passion to help people.
That's good. Ken, who are you?
So I would like all of you to get up and do somebody that you don't know very well. And we're going to look them in the eye, and you're going to ask them who they are. And then after a minute, I'm going to switch, and I'm going to ask you to switch and do the same thing. Okay? It's not very easy, and it's not fun, but I want to see how many of you feel like you really know yourself. Thank you, Karen. Give Karen a hand. Everybody ready? Okay, let's start. First one, go up. Just ask your partner, who are you? Come on, you two. Are you up? Okay. Okay, let's switch. The other person.
I'm a grandmother.
Oh, and I heard somebody say I'm a grandmother. It's not who you are, what you do, or who you are as a family member. It's who you are inside.
I'm a grandmother inside. I'm a grandmother. That's like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
It's so hard. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Give yourself a hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wasn't that hard? Isn't that hard? So thank you everyone for participating in that, because I just wanted all of you to see when you're really asking, and it's not like I didn't say, I'm Ken, I'm an interventionist. Oh, I'm Ken, I do this or I do that, or I'm a grandmother. I heard grandma down here say that one. I heard grandma say that one. It's who you are inside. I mean, that's the hardest question in the world for so many people to really even identify who you are. It's amazing when you really look at such a simple exercise to get an awareness to say, who am I? What is my passion? What do I want out of this life? We're only here for a short period of time. If 200 people are dying a day, every single day out there from this disease because they don't know who they are. They have no idea who they are. They don't like themselves. They hate themselves. And when you look at trauma and all the other diseases out there, that, mental health. I love the kids that were talking about mental health. I mean, trauma is a huge contributor to mental health. That's why people end up with all these different types of symptoms, because they don't know how to handle their trauma. They don't know who they are. But if we could work together as a community to help people understand, help these kids understand who they are, where is their passion? How can they tap into their passion? Because every single one of us are completely different. We're all like a thumbprint. We're all completely different. We have different goals. We have different passions. We have different dreams. If every one of you could get in touch with what your passion, your dreams, what your goals are in life. I loved how they mentioned it, the kids up here today. We're talking about, setting a plan of action. So figuring out what it is and putting your plan of action together to reach those goals. And a lot of us that couldn't answer very well on that exercise of who they are, it might be beneficial to get a therapist to, I still go to therapy. I still do workshops. I still do trauma work with 30 years of working in this field. And I believe that I keep excelling and getting to the next level because I'm working on that trauma. That voice is never going to turn off, but I'm working on different modalities to learn to help my clients. At our treatment center, when people come in, I do trauma eggs with them. I sit with them and I go from the very young, does anybody know what trauma eggs are? No? So a trauma egg is you draw this big circle of an egg, and at the bottom of the egg, you put down your first recollection of your first trauma that you remembered. So mine was, I was 2 years old when my sister was born, and I was like, what the hell are they bringing her into this family for? We're doing pretty good without her. I got all the attention, and I was the only kid, and now they got somebody else coming around? No, we don't need that. So that was that 2 years old's first trauma. Like, why is somebody else getting my attention? And then, then at 4 years old, I remember going to school and being dropped off. And this is how I know addiction is also in the genes and it's also environmental. So the gene part for me was I had no self-esteem right from the minute I was born. I never had self-esteem. So the minute I walked into school for that first day, I hid behind the table, scared to death of everybody, while everyone else is outside having fun and playing games together. But for some reason, I had no self-esteem. So I had that gene of addiction, of low self-esteem, not feeling good about myself. I was born with that. It's like being born with, hazel eyes. The same exact thing. I was born with that gene that had low self-esteem. And the only thing that made it feel better is when I finally started drugs and alcohol. So my goal is, with the Bill of Rights that they have here, did everybody see that out in the hallway? Like looking at all those different things that they're putting together here, and looking at how we create community and engaging people from all walks of life. That's the key. All walks of life. We have to do it together because I could never do this on my own. I would have never learned how to have self-esteem, learning to like myself, to learning to love myself. I would have never been able to do that on my own. I needed all of you. I needed all of you. So I thought I needed drugs and alcohol, but that's not what I needed. I needed all of you. These people that are out there suffering right now, they need all of us. So we also met, you'll hear a speaker here with insurance company here. What is with the Blues? Yes, with Blue Shield. So you'll hear him also speaking here. And, we need each other because, right now, I love what happened. I mean, I was so upset what happened with treatment centers years ago. Treatment centers were robbing insurance companies with urines, and it made me crazy. They would bill for each day of going to treatment. I think they would bill like, $1,500, $2,000 for a day of treatment, and then they would bill another $1,500 to $3,000 for a urine sample. Hello? It's like, they're under your care. How do you not know they're sober? So that would drive me nuts. I was like, why would you bill all that money to find out while they're in your treatment center? So they took advantage of treatment centers, or of insurance companies. And that put a block between treatment centers and insurance companies, because I wouldn't want to be raped like that either. They got ripped off. So now we're merging back together, and families are realizing that insurance, it'll pay for a lot of things. And unfortunately, treatment is expensive. It's hard. But, going backwards the way we have, I love this. I need all of you to rally up with your passion and get out there and have a voice behind it. please get out there and rally up and have that voice, because we need you at this time in today's world. Because if we're going to sit back and be silent like that kid was, that 4-year-old scared of the world, if we're going to sit back there, we're going to go further back in time. We're just going to keep going further, further, further back in time, and things are going to get a lot worse. But if we could rally up together and work with insurance companies and treatment centers and all different walks, the education that's out here, if we all work together and figure out how to put a plan together on how people could become their best self ever, I think that's the goal. That is the goal. If every single human being could become their best self, imagine what this world would be like. Imagine everything that would be out there right now if everybody was given their God gift and talent and being able to, number one, access it and then implement it. And that's really my goal. I started this with, drugs and alcohol and getting into then behavioral health. But really, it's not about behavioral health. It's not about addiction. It's not about any of that, because there's many people, as you learned, I hope, through that little uncomfortable exercise, that a lot of us don't even know ourselves. Alcoholics are not alcoholics. We don't know ourselves as deep as we can. And if we could dig a little bit deeper to get to know ourselves and then get the gifts, because I know I have dreams. Anybody have dreams right now of goals they want to reach? That's it? I was like, oh my God, I got some goals. I was like, finally, I was thinking, maybe I'm too old for any more goals. I was like, you're going to be 58 years old, or 57, something like that. I don't even remember, but it's 57 or 58 years old. I was like, maybe it's time to stop shooting for your goals and just relax and take a breath. So I was thinking of that. And then I was like, no. I was put on this earth to reach my passion, to obtain my passion and reach my goals. And all of us, every one of us in here has the same gift. We all have it. And I just hope that pushing each other, showing each other, I push people into treatment to help them get theirs. Not very nice, they don't like me about it, during that process. So I push people into treatment. But if we could all push each other to reach each other's goals and care about each other's goals, instead of caring about my goals, if I'm caring about your goals and helping you reach my goals, it's something weird about that. All of a sudden, I reach my goals. It's like, how does that happen? It's like, I didn't even try to reach my goals. I'm just trying to help other people reach their goals. And now I've surpassed my goals and my dreams. So that's my prayer for all of you, and I hope all of you, I'm glad you're all here this weekend, or this Tuesday and Wednesday, is it? I don't even know what days it are. Tuesday and Wednesday, whatever day it is, I'm glad you're all here, and I'm glad you're all working together, because we need each other, and keep up the great fight, and get out there, and let's reach your goals and help others reach their goals. So thank you very much.